Hey and welcome to the journey to Super Smash Bros. Today's game is Super Mario Bros. 3. This is a game I haven't played in 10 years, but we're gonna find out how good it is and where I rank it. Join me in the journey through this game. Alright, we boot up the game to a curtain, and apparently this game is much more like a play, with the curtains and also how there is a shadow created by the objects on the screen. So honestly, this is a very good title screen. But one thing though, where the heck is the music? I think I've played the newer versions of this so many times, I could have sworn there was supposed to be title music. But that's alright, let's continue. It is really awesome that they're doing a little stage play before you start the game. We hit start and land in World 1, and this game is the game to introduce the world map. This is freaking amazing.
World maps are one of my most favorite thing in video games.
And even for an NES game, this world map just pops and looks beautiful. Let's move our way over to 1-1. This level has such a comfortable song to the level, which I like very much. There's obviously the classic tutorial Goomba with some blocks ahead, and let's grab that mushroom. We already know what this does. And whoa, piranha plants shoot fireballs in this game? That's diabolical. Here we find a Koopa, and something else starting with this game, we can now pick up shells and walk with it. Another one of my favorites. Shoot that shell into that block to get the next power up. Again, I love power-ups so much, so seeing new power-ups is always a fun time. While the fire flower made you like unstoppable as long as you can shoot them from a distance, this power-up goes a different way, which is just as good. Being able to fly is just so amazing, especially when they hide like 1-ups and coins that are hidden in the sky. It's always a good time. Nothing too notable about 1-1, but I guess at the end of every level in this game, we exit stage right, which fits into this whole play theme this game's got going on. We collect that mushroom card and head on. World 1-2 is where I remembered about sliding as a mechanic. It's pretty fun. All you have to do is hit down when you're going downhill and you take down any enemies ahead of you.
Except for those dang spinies.
But this one's got that song that gets stuck in my head. Really, this song is a true classic. It's just so hummable. And whoa, this game also introduces the P-switch. This is used very interestingly later on, but here it gives you kind of a taste where you see coins turn into blocks. This game just comes up with so many fun ideas. And it actually confused me once I went into the secret pipe, landed on a bunch of blocks, and I was like, oh, was that my reward? I forgot the P-switch was still turned on. And wait a minute, I completely glossed over this Goomba having wings. Always glad to see the little guys get some power-ups too. And the classic note blocks, which honestly I find a little annoying. You just had to jump on them at the right time to gain a bunch of height. Sometimes it feels a little finicky, but maybe that's just me. And holy moly, that's a star. Same thing as before, I mean nothing's really changed, but Mario's doing the front flips now, that's awesome. 1-3 has the boomerang bro, cool little guy, sometimes honestly I find him kinda dangerous. And here, idiotically, I completely forgot about the red note block. So I believe you hit the jump button when you're on top of it and you get taken to a bonus stage, but in my playthrough I just forgot that existed and just continued running. And then I tested out that whole hold down on the white block mechanic to go to the backstage, but I wanted to do this playthrough a little more legit, beating every level and all, so I just kinda showed off to see what it looks like. At the end of the level I end up getting 1 mushroom and 2 stars as my cards. Luckily in this game at least it gives me 1 life for just getting 3. And this is the mushroom house where I did kind of a silly thing. I went for a like I only believe in the first chest kind of mentality, so every time I ended up in this house he's like pick a box and I'm like nah, I'm just gonna pick that first one. Now would you look at that, it gave me a mushroom. But this mushroom wasn't immediately given to me, so what the heck is up with that? So this game introduces like an inventory system, which is probably one of the best systems about this game. At any moment, you just hit B, pick the item you want out of anything in your backpack, and use it. Simply amazing. Now 1-4 has an auto-scroller level, which I'm gonna be completely real and say I really do not like these levels, and I may be vocal about it every time I see one. Although to be fair, there are some auto-scroller levels later on that are very difficult to get through, which keeps you engaged the whole time, but more often than not, it's just waiting to see the next platform to move on. Definitely one of the bigger fumbles in this game. It is very tense though in this level where those platforms fall down whenever you jump on them. I'm not gonna lie when I say that, you know, it's a little scary when traveling this level. Still, don't like auto-scrollers though. And whoa, a boomerang bro from a sneak attack that he wasn't prepared for. Silly guy. And now the Spade House. Entering this room introduces you to these amazing sprites. I just love these kind of images that look this good. But really, you play a minigame that's just a line up the pictures that are rolling around. Not the most fun game, but it doesn't stay around long enough to be annoyed by it, and later on I tried really hard to get the star, and you'll find out if I get it or not. Whoa, and a fortress level. Another classic that's introduced in this game. Really, this kind of just feels like the castle level in the original Mario Bros. Game, but it's to signify like the halfway point, or sometimes the step before the real challenge. Next up we find an interesting enemy, the dry bones. You already know what he does. Step on him, he still comes back no matter what. What a fun little guy. Fun little dead guy. Now a room with a collapsing ceiling, that's dangerous, but at least it's kind of simple to get to the end. But once we get to that end, we find the Boom Boom. Hold up, let me check something. Yeah, I read that name right. The Boom Boom. This guy is always placed at the end of a fortress level. And yeah, he's a fun fight, and feels like it's kind of easy to cheese, but I mean, hey, whatever gets me out of this castle quicker. Kind of a Birdo problem going on where it's just like, oh, it's another one. Oh, there's another one with just a slightly different mechanic. But he goes down easy enough, I can't complain. He drops our first question mark for some reason, and now we officially beat this level. And whoa, did that end spade just appear out of nowhere? Let's head to it to find my most favorite minigame, that one memory card game. I think what I like about this game the most is that you only get 2 chances to flip over cards, so for a total of 4 cards, but every time you get one right, you continue going. And then it disappears until it reappears later on, but it still keeps the same playmat that you were using earlier. So you just gotta keep in the back of your mind, like, which ones did you already flip? Which ones are you going to flip next time? So it's just something fun to keep track of. Next we find a Hammer Bro wandering around. Touch him and you enter a quick combat between you and the Hammer Bro. Hammer Bros in this game are much more simpler to deal with. Not as scared of them as in the previous game. Major downgrade. We take him down and he gives us a free item. Alright, now it takes us until level 1-5 in order to get our true underground level. And the first thing I do is travel through the top of the level where there's almost no underground portion of this until I get to the end. 1-6 is definitely that level where it's like, if you didn't master how to jump from platform to platform, we're gonna punish you here. Overall, one of the better levels of World 1. Bonus points because it's not an auto-scroller. We've made it to the castle, where we find a dog for some reason, and a toad. Who's yelling at us? I guess we gotta jump on an airship. Now here is where we start with the complaints. Every world has an airship level, and while it is a classic, auto-scrollers are just not that fun in general. So going through 8 of these is definitely rough. But enough about that. Hey look, it's Larry. It's good to see you. You're looking great. First time he showed up, I believe. All you do is jump on his head 3 times, he spins in his shell a few times, and then grab the scepter. It's always nice to see that, like in the first game, all you did was fight Bowser as the boss. But in this one, they actually put the effort in to create multiple bosses, even though they're all very similar. We bring the scepter back, and then we see that the king is back to normal. Another point of appreciation is that every world actually has their own king on the throne. That is such a nice little detail. But with a scepter that powerful, kinda strange how strong they are. Let's not think about it too much. Another awesome point about this game is instead of your princess is in another castle shtick, you get a letter sent by her and an item to help you with your quest. It gives Peach a much more active role while also making it feel like she's much more involved. Next world it is. First level in this desert world, and we find the jumping block guy. He's just a fun guy, I don't know, not much more with it. But here you'll find these purple pipes. They're a little annoying to navigate, but it's an interesting way to get through this level. Especially how they hide like goodies inside the pipes, and you gotta find your way in. On to 2-2. Here we find quicksand, which I don't think I messed with at all when I played this game. But we go on to the next part where we find like, I guess kind of like an oasis water area with a platform that you gotta ride across. Now I messed this whole part up. I jumped off, landed in the water, was swimming with the fishes. I don't know, some part of me just thinks it's funny that I just did this whole level completely wrong. My ride is leaving without me. Now the next fortress introduces a lot more things. A lot more staples actually. There's the thwomps, classic thwomps. And the boos, literally the lifeblood of the ghost enemies from here on out. This game really did create a lot. And then I really brute forced that spiky ceiling part of the level. I don't even know what I was thinking. We take down a Boom Boom. And then this is where I tested out the pipes. While I really like that you enter the pipes and it takes you into like a little fake level where you just go from one pipe to the other. Again, I love when games have this more immersive explanation as to how these pipes work. It does get very draining, especially in the pipe world, but we'll get there. Now Mario Bros 3 does a very good job creating beautiful levels. Here in 3-3, we get like these pyramid stacked up blocks, the pyramids in the background, and you put it all together and it feels real. Real for an NES, really. And really this level has a interesting way to get your first mushroom. You gotta bring a Koopa shell to the top or already have a mushroom to break the blocks below, but in my case I was Tiny Mario. Gotta bring the Koopa shell to the top to break those blocks and get your mushroom. Again, I love when the game really tests out little mechanics like this. And how could I forget about those fireball snake things? Such a sick enemy design. This level I flew to the top and found that P-switch, and it turned all the pyramid blocks at the bottom into coins. This level is just so good. Then we see some quicksand on the world screen. Strangely, this is a level that is not included with the numbered levels, but a level nonetheless. Now this one introduces the iconic sun. This dirty guy really just tackles you and shows no remorse. What a mean guy. All in all though, beating this level and then looking back, it's pretty cool that it's like a desert themed level that is about escaping the sun. Kind of like Mario's actually just trying to survive these massive heat waves while traveling across the desert. The way the developers try to keep this game consistently real enough is amazing. It cannot be understated. Then there's a random tornado that blows you away. While it is a little silly, somehow it kinda fits, like a massive sandstorm that pushes you back. 2-4 is a sneaky level. Once you boot up the level, you'll see in the top left of your screen some bricks. Take those bricks and you come into an oasis, I like to think, where there are so many coins abound. Beating this hammer bro gives us the hammer item, and something very ambitious they did with this game is that you can use items like that to like modify the world around you. Like the ideas they had were just non-stop for this game. 2-5, we find the Chain Chomp. Again, another enemy that shows up in this game for the first time, and my god is he scary. He's guarding a power-up, and I died here a lot trying to get that power-up. That guy just stares you down and just keeps chomping and chomping. Eventually, I got past it though. Alright, now let's enter that pyramid level. This is a true cave level unlike that other one, and this one tries to mimic a maze and also makes you use this interesting mechanic with these buzzy beetles. You gotta put them into a shell form and then throw them at the walls in order to get across. Overall, I give them points for just coming up with an interesting idea. It's just not too fun in execution, but that's alright. I'm sure if I had that raccoon ability, it'd be much more fun. But as I didn't have it, I had to play it legitimately. Castle time, and the king is a spider. Heck yeah, I just love these sprites. Airship, schmearship, we dodge the bullet bills, dodge the cannonballs, wait until we get to the end, where we find Morton. This guy actually uses the scepter this time, but goes down easily enough. And now the king is back to normal with his scruffy white mustache. Welcome to the water world. First level fittingly is a water level. It's not bad. I mean, I don't dislike it. We do get a power up, the fire flower, which honestly doesn't show up too much in this game, at least early on it doesn't. It's so helpful during this water level though. And take a look at those guys, it's a tiny blooper. I feel like they're a lot smaller in this game than they were in the other game. Then these flowers that shoot the pollen, it's very interesting. 3-2 has a little fish that swims below you, and he tries to tackle you every time you touch the water. It's a dark warning for things to come. And it's funny because in this level I messed up trying to pick up a star, but I ended up getting it at the end, even though it already fell in the water. And my bright idea was to just continue swimming throughout the whole level. I ended up becoming little Mario trying to avoid the deadly fish trying to chase me. Luckily I come out alive. 3-3 is the warning that was sent in the previous level. The big fish. This freaking rude ass fish. If he gets to you, he'll open his mouth, and if he touches you, he takes you alive. No loss of power up, just takes your life. Do not pass go, do not collect 200, just pay a life. Rudest fish I've ever met. But with a fire flower, he's manageable, so I get through it with that. It's fortress time, and with a beautiful background. Wow, like look at those columns and windows. Now this level is interesting, but a little annoying. There's just a bunch of doors laid out, and you gotta find out which one will lead you to the right one. It's so trial and error, but eventually I get through. We beat the boom boom. 3-4 is oddly a very land level for a water world. The most notable thing here is the Lakitu that throws down spiny green balls that roll across and bounce across the floor. These things are dangerous, dude. What the? 5-5, we're back to the water with these jellyfishes, which I have no idea how to get rid of them. They just kind of sit there, looking at you, dead in the eye, staring down your soul. Just get past them, that's all you gotta do. And this is also the level I get a good look at a blooper who has a family with them. Strange to bring your kids to work day. Then you also run into that big fish that was trying to eat you, but underwater he acts a little bit different. He's shooting babies out of his mouth. And then there's that Goomba that's also shooting babies on top of you in those other levels. There's a lot of children fighting for their parents in this game. Wait, the Koopalings as well. Holy mother of epiphanies I just had. Moving on, at the end of this level, it's the first time I get to the 3-star combo for a total of 5 lives. This game really rewards you with lives, at least if you're somewhat familiar with it. It's always a nice animation to see the fireworks in the sky being a star. I realize how many levels are still ahead of me. A surprisingly large jump from Super Mario Bros. 1 where it was just 4 levels at a time. Next level is side-scrolling, but hey, introduces something new. Those circular blocks that fall when you step on them for too long. Always a good source of anxiety. And then I showcase breaking that rock in order to get to the canoe. And wow, my mind was blown when I got here. I think I might have completely forgotten about this, but taking the canoe, you can just kind of travel the whole world to find a bunch of secret houses and spade houses. You can even take a detour and check out the castle from the canoe. No way to land there, at least I think, but hey, it's fun. This next level has the spike enemy. Silly guys who throw up spike balls and throw them at you. It's very interesting, but get enough on one screen and it gets very dangerous where they just start chucking a bunch of balls at you. And then another fortress, which I take back when I said it was like the halfway point of a level. In this world it seems to be more like a third of the way through, but I don't mind it. This one is like an underwater fortress. Surprising. And I believe here's where we first see the boos that are stuck on a rectangle block. Honestly, it doesn't seem too effective, but in this level you gotta swim around them, which makes it pretty difficult. But like, why not just have the boos just roam about on their own? I don't know, maybe they're cursed or something. And we beat another boom boom. After the fortress, we go to this level where that big fish that can eat you whole is chasing you down, but the gimmick in this level is the water rises and lowers. This is the level that gave me nightmares as a kid. He just won't leave you alone, and in this level, there's almost nowhere to run. An interesting thing about this level though is that there is a lot of parts in this level where you can create vines that go up to the sky to create a safe haven. Finally, 3-9. This level has the first time I found the frog suit, at least found in a level, and this suit is just so goofy. Mario gets on all fours and now he hops everywhere. Super unruly when you're working on land, but in the water, it's an amazing power up. Honestly, I wish there was a way to like have this suit whenever you enter the water and then lose it when you leave the water, because in the water, it controls like butter. On to the castle, where silly old Frog Mario meets the King Kappa. And then the frog jumps on the ship. I don't know, it's just so goofy. Their ship, lame ship. They do manage to take my frog suit though, which is kind of sad. 1,000 bullets dodged later. Wait, but at the end though, we find those little guys that hide in the floors and throw wrenches. They're kind of adorable. Then we find Wendy, who shoots bouncy rings across the field. Step on our head 3 times and get the scepter and let's get out of here. And look at that King Mario from a different dimension. Let's get out of here. And I remember liking the world theme for this world, but I completely forgot what this world was about when I first got here. I was like, this just kind of looks like normal grass field land place with some water. We step into the first level for a crazy awakening. This is the giant world. This is such an amazing idea. So fun and whimsical. They even bothered to like make most enemies giants with most of the blocks too. But 4-1 doesn't have much to offer. 4-2 though had a funny little piranha plant sitting outside of a giant pipe. It's kind of funny seeing how contrasting it was. And instead of like giant hammer bros, we get the fat sumo hammer bros. I just love them. Oddly though, this level is just kind of a normal cave level, but we get through it. The World of 4 Fortress. And this level we find the candles with legs. It's a really cute enemy that just, you know, I don't know why this exists, but it does. And this is also the time I figure out that Boom Boom's die pretty quick to fireballs. 4-4 Giant Sea World. I mean, it's just still a water level, but I mean, everything's big and giant coral. Would you look at that? 4-5 is another classic giant world, but this one has bullet bills that chase you. It's, but they're slightly red. I don't remember seeing that anywhere else, but I guess it's here. Now this is the level I found the Tanuki suit, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but I love that these suits are hidden away in a giant mystery box. This feels extra rewarding to go out of your way to find a giant box that contains a rare item. And the Tanuki suit works just like the raccoon, but instead if you press down and jump, I believe, down and B, I forget, then you can turn to like a stone statue and land on someone. It hasn't really come in handy to me, but it's still the raccoon power up nonetheless. 4-6 is an interesting level. I found a door that you enter and it takes you back to the small world. So it's a very cool level where like there's the giant world and there's the small world just in the same level, in the same layout. It's such an interesting idea, but I feel like nothing was done with it. So let's get to the end. Now the next fortress level, it starts out normally enough, but you end up finding this P-switch that you hit and then find a secret door, which then takes you to like the pipes in the fortress, I guess. You step on these arrow blocks and then it just takes you up or takes you in the direction it's facing later on. Like, I think it's cool, but it's also kind of challenging. Overall, I feel like this giant world was like super cool on entry, but It didn't really go anywhere, it just felt like the normal game. I don't really know what they could have done better, but there's that. The king this time though, he was turned into a dinosaur. That is so fitting for this world, and I think about it, the Kappa fit for the water world. Spider maybe doesn't fit for the desert world maybe, unless you think like spiders live in pyramids, I guess. But overall I feel like these kings meet up to the theme of the world. It's always fun. And now the airship, or more like get this over with ship. All this time standing on a ship and I can't come up with anything better, I guess. And at the end we find Iggy. He didn't seem too notable to me. You know, step on him 3 times. You know the deal. Can't wait to see the king though, which is just a happy guy without a shirt for some reason. Okay. Put a shirt on, man, I don't know. Now we make it to World 5, which didn't seem too notable to me at first. So let's press on. This first level just has like the normal Chimp Chomps and this little enemy you run across. Nothing too notable. But World 2 is definitely much more notable. You go down a pipe, and if you don't catch these note blocks at the beginning, then you just fall straight down for a long, long while. Which kind of simulates a sewer system, I guess, because you enter another pipe and end up in a greenish room where you meet my favorite enemy from this game, which gets my award. It's these little cute guys who can pick up these icy looking blocks. They put it over their head and toss them. There's just something about this little guy putting a block on his head and then tossing it across the stage, and also being oddly effective with it. They did kick my butt though. So upon re-entry I decided to land on the note blocks proper and make my way up through the top pipe, which is much more of just a overworld level at the top with an easy exit. And then we get the triple flower, heck yeah. A 5-3 has like the sock enemies, I guess. If you beat them in a way, you can ride the sock in it. I forgot to do it on this playthrough, and I think this is the only time you see them. I guess something else that's notable at this level too is that you go to the left instead of the right on this level, but then eventually you'll end up going right anyway. But god, there is so much jumping in this level. This World 5 fortress had a very dangerous start and an interesting secret exit, where at first I'm like, well, I need the mushroom in order to break those blocks and get through. So I pressed on looking for a mushroom. Once I found one though, there was this swamp that kills me and it creates this ugly noise. Strange glitch. Okay, we enter again, we get that mushroom, and then we break those blocks, where it leads us to getting a leaf to get the raccoon ability. Then I realize, wow, it's a really long jump to the top. I guess the only way you get up there is by flying with the raccoon ability. And trying to find enough runway in order to get enough speed to fly is another puzzle in and of itself. Then I found a room with an up arrow. I didn't know what to do about this room. I searched and searched, didn't find anything, so I just left it alone. And then we get that boom boom. And then we head over to that sky tower place. Again, this is another level where what you see on the outside is kind of what you get when you enter the level. This level is all about climbing higher and higher until you end up at the clouds over the bricks that you climbed up. And then, even stranger, this level ends by entering a pipe. What could this mean? You exit the pipe and end up in Sky World. This game is just always full of ideas non-stop, from starting this world from a very boring grassy fields kind of level to ending up in Sky World, where it's just almost a brand new level entirely. World 5-4 is where you kind of have to get acquainted with these flipper mechanics. These spinny things really push you around. They feel awfully finicky when messing with them though. But one bad flipper and it's kaput for you. A very thrilling level. The next level is just a level full of those ring blocks that can fall down if you step on them for too long, with a bunch of enemies. And there's a really nice shortcut that you take in order to get a Tanuki suit, and then you make it to the end. And then the Spade House, where I finally line up the star to get my 5 lives. Awesome. 5-6 is an auto-scroller level again. At least here is crazy interesting. There's these shelly wing guys that fly across the screen, and when you step on them they go down, but then they start flying up. It's such an interesting mechanic for an auto-scroller. And very scary too, because one slip means your end. Luckily I had the raccoon tail in order to get through this level. 5-7 just felt like a very normal level to me, with like starting in the clouds and then you take a pipe to go to a normal level under. The World 5 fortress in the sky though is a completely red striking room. It honestly looks very cool. Might be one of my favorite levels. It's decently challenging. There's a lot of fireballs, a lot of tight jumps, but nothing too challenging. So it's a definite recommend for me. Then we beat that boom boom. 5-8 is honestly like an underwhelming level because all you do is jump from cloud to cloud. It looks amazing, but it ends quick enough and all you did was just run to the right. 5-9 is the auto-scroller that beat me the most amount of times, well, aside from what you run into in the final world. Especially with this ball guy that shoots fireballs at you from a distance, this level can be pretty brutal. Time to get a good look at the king. fittingly enough, he's a bird. I just love the theming for these worlds, even down to the king. Airship, snore ship, but wait, this one actually beats me. I don't know, something about dodging these cannonballs in the middle of a moving ship just feels a little finicky, and sometimes I don't land on them when I think I should, and then I take damage, which is a little frustrating, but that's alright. Then we meet Roy, who has an interesting move where if he lands on the floor while Mario's on the floor, Mario gets stunned. It's a very, very dangerous move, and it got me the first few times. And also, upon losing to an airship, I honestly didn't know this, but the airship runs away from you. Apparently there's like an item to keep it to hold still, but I didn't have it, and it ended up traveling all the way down to the ground world from the sky world, so I had to go all the way down there and come and get it. Eventually we win, and we get greeted by the bearded old man. Now the Icy World 6. Here's where I test out like the cloud item I got. There's so many interesting like one-off items in this game. This item lets you fly over a level, but because I want to see every level, ended up doing it anyway. And my favorite, ice sliding physics. This level also has those piranha plants that just blow up a spiky ball. What a life to live where all you do is just shoot up a spiky ball away from you. It's also just funny to me that that's the move that piranha plant uses in Smash Bros. 6-2, another side-scrolling level, but this one has clouds you gotta jump across. Interesting by design, but it's still a side-scrolling level. Eventually I get tired of losing at the end of this level that I decided to use a P-Wing here. And P-Wings are amazing items that let you just fly forever. It just helps you outright skip a level, really. The next level has some real tricky platforming, especially with ice physics. Having the raccoon tail was a big help for this one too. And now the fortress, where we step on a platform that takes us to almost the end, I think. I mean, the next room isn't that large, so it really does kind of take you to the end. Now I'm gonna move to 6-5, which is like the next notable level. This level is a cave level that just repeats over and over again. I guess kind of like circling around a cave lost, I guess. But what's interesting about this level is that the power-ups that you get reset upon entry to the next room, and then you can use that to your advantage to get the raccoon tail. Now the part I wasn't expecting is you gotta use that raccoon tail in order to find the secret exit at the top of the level. You gotta find a perfect amount of runway space and then fly up to the top. But some of those up top are just dead ends, so you gotta find the right one. It's a very cool level. Really got me thinking, and later on there's a lot more levels that are like this. Now the rest of these levels just kind of have like a mixture of like dangerous platforming with ice physics with enemies, nothing too noteworthy. But you get to the fortress and it's another level that just kind of mixes up the enemies you've already seen before and in the fortress level. But there's this pretty cool part where you end up in a room full of booze and the background starts to like move, almost simulating like you're on an elevator somehow. It's really damn cool. Make our way to the castle and find King Seal, who's playing with his crown. This might be the best king transformation in this game. Now this airship gave me the blues, cause it's still a side-scroller. There are these screw platforms that are really tricky to work with, so I guess it's something to keep your mind off of just the auto-scrolling. We get to the end and find Lemmy Koopa. This guy is probably the most noteworthy boss because he's on a ball, which already makes him stand out, and then he shoots other balls that bounce around. It's kind of a goofy guy. 3 hops on his head and he still goes down though. Speaking of goofy guys, this king also looks pretty goofy too, which it's funny. Then we make it to Pipe World, which at first I didn't know this was Pipe World. Honestly, I was like, oh, green grass forest world, piranha plant world, I don't know. Anything but Pipe World, I guess. Now the first world, as you can expect, is full of pipes. You gotta keep going up and down in order to get to the end. At least the next world isn't as pipey, but there is this interesting part at the end of the level because it goes from like going from overground to underground to overground to underground. But at the end of the level, you find this empty layout. But then when you try escaping, you quickly find out that there's invisible note blocks, which you gotta hit from under in order to create the bridge to get you across. Very interesting idea, but also not very fun when you gotta like hard stop in this room in order to create the bridge. I guess if you had fly, maybe you could find a way to get across. The next level is like really not pipey, just a bunch of grassy plains you gotta run across. But you do run into that Lakitu who has those green balls that bounce around. Like, just get away from me, I don't want to deal with these. Then we find an underwater auto-scroller. Kind of mixes up two things I'm not a fan of. But honestly, this level is keeps you on your toes. There's this part where you're just surrounded by jellyfish and you gotta make sure you're tapping the A button at the right rhythm in order to stay in between them. The level after that has like a similar mechanic as that one fortress with the doors that take you to below and then above, where you gotta like find the right pipe that leads you to the right path in order to continue moving forward. But you have like many pipes you can choose from, and a bunch of these invisible blocks that you gotta hit in order to create the bridge to get across. Eventually you'll find your way, but it takes a bit. This is the world where going through the mini level in the pipes gets kind of annoying. There's just so many pipes that it just really drains you after you keep entering pipes, exiting pipes, entering pipes. Especially when I gotta find out where all the mushroom houses are in order to get that one achievement, where you gotta complete everything in the world. Then we walk into a piranha plant on the world map, and this level is brutal. There are just so many piranha plants that shoot fireballs that come out of pipes. It's just super dangerous. After losing enough lives, I decided to use a P-Wing. Then I found out that this level is actually pretty short, and it gives you a chest at the end. But something else I gotta know is the little muncher guys that come out in twos from the pipes. It's almost like they're dancing, coming up, going down with their partners. So the fortress for this world got me unbelievably stuck. So there's this P-switch that you find early on in the level, and when you hit it, all the blocks around you turn into coins, which is pretty cool. And at the very least, this level refunds you for the lives you're gonna lose from timeouts. Then after exploring and exploring, I finally found out that hitting that P-switch creates a door. And I was like, oh heck yeah, that's how I get out of here. I enter the door, and all it does is get me a Tanuki suit. Then from here, I was once again very stuck. I keep exploring every inch of this fortress, and eventually I find a pipe at the top of the level. There were many times where I almost wanted to look up the answer, but I didn't, and I ended up finding the way. The next level after that is one that really tests out if you know how to use those arrow blocks. It's a completely vertical level, but this one's kind of fun. It's almost like a minigame where you have to manage those arrows and keep turning them in the right direction, or make sure you know which one to keep to get to the very top. Simple, but difficult in execution. And then another interesting level. So this one has like little munchers placed all around the floor, and it gives you a star to start the level. So you take that star in order to run across them like a bridge, and then you have to keep hitting more mystery blocks in order to get more stars to come out until you make it to the end. Not gonna lie, this level took a lot of lives out of me because that final sprint to the end, it was pretty difficult. 7A is just another world with a lot of piranha plants. Very difficult. And 7-9 is a level where they take those pipes that you found in the second world in order to create a maze. There are many different paths, but only one way through. Going the wrong way in this level is pretty easy, but after enough tries I do find my way through. The last fortress for this world is a mean one. Piranhas and lava. With piranhas guarding every pipe that you see, and also lava below you, there is room for a lot of error. Even thwomps above you that guard some of the pipes as well. Pretty short level overall. It was around this time where even though I still had like 40 lives, I still lost so many lives trying to beat these levels. And now there's another piranha level. Again, I use a P-Wing here because honestly I find it way too difficult. And get a gander of that king. He's a piranha plant. Again, fits the theme. It's amazing. Another boring airship later, we face off with Ludwig, who also has that stomp mechanic that Roy had, but he still goes down pretty easy. This time I'm used to it. And then we save the orange bearded king with the little hat. And then it's time for a plot twist. This time you get another letter, but this time it's from the King of the Koopa, who starts out his letter by saying yo, but he's just letting you know that Peach got kidnapped while we were off saving the world. And World 8 deserves some praise. While the rest of the worlds were like nice and fantastical, World 8 is just ominous and frightening, with fires lighting up the whole scenery in a red tint background. And your first level you have to enter is a tank. Seriously, in this game Bowser I guess just has an army that Mario has to go up against. Now, while these levels are auto-scrollers and I dislike those, these levels are vastly more difficult. So many moving parts and you gotta keep up with the level in this one. So I kind of enjoy these levels. Many lost lives later, and then I find a boomerang bro at the end, and really I'm like, this is kind of a letdown, just a boomerang bro? But I am Little Mario, so I definitely could lose here. And then I try to jump on him, but he ends up getting me, and I lose my life here, having to restart the level all over again. In hindsight, honestly, I didn't really try to learn the pattern of how to fight these boomerang bros because most of the time I took care of them pretty quickly. So that's on me. The next level is a battleship, because you know Bowser has so many war funds that he can fight by land, sea, and air. Honestly, he's such a menace in this game. It works the same as the tank level. It's another auto-scroller, but this time there's water below you and getting stuck in there could mean your death. But I found now that I got used to the pace in that first level, this second level isn't as difficult. Then we find the commanding officer who runs this ship. Boom boom. Again, we take them down. Then we run to this mysterious part of the world. Just a bunch of black void squares. And then when you step on it, a hand comes out and grabs you. That's really spooky. But this first level, I run into an enemy I haven't seen before. A fire brother. Honestly, he looks pretty cool and I kind of wish there was more of him in the game. After him though, there's two hammer bros right behind him, so this level starts out pretty difficult. And here is the first and only time I used the star effectively. So like the star, you hit it and you get it for like the first 5 seconds of a level, which in most levels isn't really worth it. But here, the first 5 seconds is already chaos, so it really helps.
So there's 3 total levels on this like bridge, and each one is kind of a mini level that gives you a chest at the end. So the first one is like themed around Hammer Bros, the second one is themed around like jumping over lava with fireballs, but this last one is themed after Cheep Cheeps that swim in the lava. I don't know what Bowser feeds these guys, but they are immortal. Then the next level, an airship, but not like the other one. These are like tiny airships. And this is also where I realized that like all of these side-scrolling levels, the tank, the battleship, and now the airship, in the level they were designed to look like what they look like on the outside. But really here's where I noticed it. It's a bunch of mini airships that all have fire thrusters shooting out from behind them. So even though these flamethrowers are normally used as like stage hazards, here it's like almost only used for effect to make it look like they're flying through the sky. And again, it makes like Mario seem like such a badass, how he's just kind of jumping from ship to ship in the sky. If this guy was coming after me, I don't know what I would do. And then weirdly enough, we finally made it to the first level of the world. I like to think it's kind of like you normally would start here, but since you had to deal with so many of Bowser's army, you kind of had to start somewhere else. And this first level starts out very difficult. I lost like 10 lives here and most of my power-ups I had in reserve, but the difficulty doesn't seem too unfair. It's just a lot of enemies placed in interesting spots that make you have to really consider how you jump and where you move. Except for this note block at the end. This is the one where I'm like, I can't get the rhythm and timing to this thing. Eventually I get it, but it did take a few tries. And by a few I mean a lot. The next level is the return of like a pure white world like in Mario Bros 1. So the way this level decides to kick you while you're down is by giving you the sun enemy again, but also you have to jump over a bunch of note blocks while also trying to contest the sun. After losing enough lives, I decided to just get the raccoon power up and try to fly my way over. And now the fortress for World 8. This is a very interesting level where you go back and forth between 2 parts of the level, and you can almost choose which path you want to go down. Sometimes it forces you down the other path. So the first path is like a lot of thwomps and tight runs, and the second path is more about jumping over lava pits, and you have to use each one to get farther in the level. Luckily, in this level, there's like 2 different places to get 1-ups, so even though I kept dying here and restarting, I would at least pick up 1-up and be able to try this level over and over again. But what makes this level really tricky is, you have to get to the very end of the level, and there's no door, but you gotta find a P-switch that's hidden in a block in order to be able to make the door appear. I did not know that, so I spent like a lot of my time just combing through the whole level trying to find out where the exit could be. Another boom boom down, and then we find a tank. Not too difficult and very short of a tank, but we do find Boom Boom again at the end. Now this Boom Boom deserves some praise. He's the only one to beat me in one-on-one combat. Very fitting that it's the very last one. I don't know why, he just got it. And then it's time for Bowser's Castle, which in this game has a really cool sprite on the world map. Definitely very ominous. And this level just starts out oppressive. You run down the hallway and immediately get greeted by this Bowser statue. You take a step forward and then notice instant laser beam coming out of his mouth. Look, I'm sure this would definitely stop like 99% of his intruders, but I guess Mario's just too fast, so you just gotta be at full speed and run right under it. This whole level has many winding paths and very tight jumps. Especially this completely open lava pit that has those blocks that fall down if you stand on them for too long. But once you get through that, you make it down a hallway with more laser beam Bowsers, and then you see something familiar. The classic fireball flying across the screen towards you, just like in Mario Bros 1. You know what this is, you know what you're in for. Jumping across this next fire pit, you find a Bowser statue on top of the ceiling, and it gave me a slight heart attack as I realized it could probably shoot an instant laser beam. But this one I think is just for that jump scare, which is very funny by the developer's part. Then we find the big bad. Unlike Mario Bros 1 where you kind of find him every step of the way, this is the first time you actually get to see his sprite in full view. And he looks amazing with many different expressions that show how dangerous he is, especially when he looks towards the camera and starts looking for you. He shoots fireballs and stomps on blocks. Nothing too difficult really, but still, you know, keeps your heart racing. So force him to dig his own grave and then let him fall in, which opens the door, where you actually find Peach crying in the corner. It's a very nice little touch to show that, you know, you're actually saving her. And even like Mario turning on the lights for the room. And then Peach decides to play a small little verbal prank. She just recites the phrase from the previous game that your princess is in another castle, just to say, just kidding. Now look, I think it's funny for like the end of the game just to kind of trick the player like that, but like really Peach is now the time to be making jokes, you just got kidnapped. I mean, I guess she's happy she got saved, but still. Another beautiful end game credits scene that shows you the name of each world that you visited. Then the curtain falls. The end. that's the end of the journey. So my thoughts on this game are much more positive than any other game so far that I've played for this channel. I think it's amazing what they accomplished with the same system that Mario Bros 2 and Mario Bros 1 came out on. The colors are so vibrant, the music that plays is so well done. This game is a whole ass presentation of what video games can be about. And I also need to talk about like the difficulty curve in this game. It's very well done. So like the first couple worlds are honestly a little bit too easy and kind of short, but later on down the middle I started losing a few more lives, and then the end is just brutal, but it's never anything that's like this is just unfair and dumb. It's more like it just kept good enough to get through this level. And even with all the power-ups this game introduces, this game just came up with so many things. Like sure, there's auto-scrollers which aren't the funnest, and airships which is overdone. It's never really poorly designed, it's just a lot of fluff, I guess. And even each world is like beautiful and very distinct from each other, with different music accompanying them. So at the end of the day, I think this game deserves to be known as the peak of the NES. With so many NES games out there that are pretty hard to stomach, it's surprising that this game sits amongst them. It really deserves some praise and then some. But enough with that, it's time to get on to the ranking. And to no one's surprise, I'm definitely going to put this one at the very top. Here's the list, take a look. If anybody in the comments wants to take these 5 games that I've played and rank them in the comments, I would definitely appreciate that very much. Now here I'm going to bring up the retro achievements that I completed along the way. And if you made it this far, you know, subscribe. I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to keep making these videos, so if you like them, subscribe and keep up with my videos, and hopefully continue to get better and better at this. So stick around, there's going to be many great things here. So the next game on the list is going to be Super Mario World. This one is definitely the most nostalgic for me, so we'll see how it holds up. And geez, this video is about to hit 40 minutes, and that's absolutely insane. I never thought I'd make a video this long before. Well, until then, I'll see y'all in the next video. See ya.